Hello, Lisa Hiles, Perfectly Spoken. How are you? As you know, I'm the B1 teacher for intermediate level learners, or for those of you with the IELTS score of about 4 to 4.5. And today is lesson 19 of the course, which is the second conditional. And we'll be looking at what it means, how we use it, and how we form it. Okay? Enjoy the lesson. Let's look at the first slide, and I'll just make sure I'm not in it for you. Here we are. So in the first slide, I want you to imagine that I'm sitting dreaming. I'm sitting dreaming about a free year and lots of money. Okay? Look at that fantastic picture. There's me dreaming. And here's a fantastic picture of a beautiful holiday destination, a seaside holiday destination. Okay, and if you look here, I'd like you to choose the correct form of the verb. Okay, so I'd just like to remind you that here I'm talking about a dream. Yeah, I'm thinking about something. I'm imagining something. Okay, here we go. So is it if I had, or if I would have a free year, so a year without work, and lots of money. There we are, a free year, no work, and lots of money. If I had, or if I would have this, I'd go, or I went on a long holiday. I didn't work, or I wouldn't work. I'd spend, or I spent all my time with friends and family. I learned a new skill, probably a foreign language. I love learning languages. I'd quite like to learn Spanish. Okay, and you? Similar things to me or different? So first task is choose the correct form of the verb. Let's have a look. Here we go. Here are the answers. Task 1 answers. If I had a free year and lots of money, I'd go on a long holiday. I wouldn't work. I'd spend all my time with friends and family. I'd learn a new skill, probably a foreign language. What about you? Would you go on a long holiday? Would you work? Yes or no? Would you spend more time with friends and family? Or perhaps you'd like to spend less time with them? And would you learn a new skill? If so, a language, or maybe a new sport, or a new subject like computing or maths, something like that. Cooking, maybe. What do you think? Okay, let's look at the grammar surrounding the use of those forms, shall we? And I'll just take myself out of the picture. This is called Language Focus Stage 1. The second conditional. Okay, so like the first conditionals that we did 2 lessons ago in lesson 17, we use the conditional to say one thing depends upon another. Okay, one clause starts with if, and the other clause talks about the result coming from that. Let's look at the target sentence here. If I had a free year and lots of money, I'd go on a long holiday. Okay, I have some questions for you. Can you answer them? Is the speaker talking about the past, the present, or the future? Here in this sentence, the speaker is talking about the present or the future. Does the speaker think the situation is probable or improbable? It's improbable. So I don't think that I'll ever have a year without work, or I'll ever have lots of money. So it's a dream, it's improbable, okay? But if I had them, I'd go on a long holiday. Does the past tense after if show past time or something unlikely, something improbable, something unreal, something imaginary? And there I want you to realise that we use the past simple here to talk about something unreal or improbable, but not to show that it's past time. Okay, and that's what's difficult about the second conditional. So that's the problem with the second conditional for learners. You see the past simple and you think, oh, that's talking about past time, but it's not. It's imagining a present or a future, but the past simple use here, the past tense, shows you that I think it's very improbable. It's not going to happen, I don't think. Yeah, it's imaginary. Okay, so if I had lots of money, I'd go on holiday. Do I have lots of money? No. Yeah. Is it probable that I will have lots of money? No. But is it a dream? Yes. Yeah, so if I had a free year, if I had lots of money, I'd go on a long holiday. Yeah, so that's meaning and use. Okay, that's not enough, is it, when we come to studying how we use these things? So we need to also look at the spoken and the written form. But if you just need an extra minute or two to think that here the second conditional is to talk about present or future, something improbable, and that the past tense shows that it's improbable. That's a very good start. Next, let's look at how we form the sentence, both in writing, the blocks that form it, and the speaking. Okay, here we go. I'm getting all my buttons. I'll take myself out. Bye. Here we go. The second conditional, the written and the spoken form. In positive sentences, if I had a free year and lots of money, I'd go on holiday. And here we can see we make the second conditional with if plus the subject I, plus the past simple had, plus the subject I and would contracted I'd, and the V1 work. If I had a free year, I'd go on holiday. Equally, you can say if he had a free year, he'd go on holiday. If she had a free year, she'd go on holiday. Yeah, if you had a free year, you'd go on holiday. Here we go. What about negative sentences? If I had a free year and lots of money, I wouldn't work. So here we have if plus subject plus past simple, had, plus the subject I, and would not, wouldn't work, the V1. Question forms. If you had a free year and lots of money, would you work? Or would you go on a long holiday? So here we have the if plus the subject plus the past simple of had. And then we invert. So we change the places and would plus subject plus V1. Would you work? Would you go on a long holiday? Would you spend time with family and friends? Yeah. Would you learn a new language, a new skill? And then finally, the important thing to know is that I'd go on a long holiday if I had a free year and lots of money. So we can change the clauses around here. The I'd comes first and the if I had comes second, and there's no comma. So I think there's two things that learners, in my experience, find difficult with the second conditional. So it's the idea that we use the past in the if clause, but that the past doesn't show time. It shows that something is improbable now. But it's also those contracted forms. Yep. And you've got to remember your past simple, regular and irregular verbs. Okay. But it's the contractions of the would. I'd, I would, I'd, I would not, I wouldn't, and would you. Would you work? Would you go on holiday? Okay, so there's that load that I think even when you go from learning, being able to do these exercises in terms of gaps, filling the gaps and one-word answers, you really do need to listen to native speakers or very proficient users of English using those contractions and make sure you can hear them with the would. Okay, let's try and do some practice now, shall we? So here's my next practice task, task 2. Good luck. Put in the correct forms of the verbs in the following questions. Tip, read about question forms on the previous slide. Okay, so you need to think about what happens with the would. Okay, and you need to think about the past simple forms. Here we go. If you find a friend's secret diary, you read it. Number 2, if you find a purse or wallet on the street, you keep it. 3, if you see a child stealing from a shop, you say anything. 4, if you see a stranger in your neighbour's garden, you call the police. And 5, if a friend asks you to lie for them, would you do? Sorry, you do it. Sorry about that. I'll repeat. If a friend asks you to lie for them, you do it. So just take a moment to fill in those gaps. Stop the slide if you have to. And now let's look at the answers. Okay. Task 2, answers. Here we go, and I can stay in this slide. If you found a friend's secret diary, would you read it? Number 2, if you found a purse or wallet on the street, would you keep it? Number 3, if you saw a child stealing from a shop, would you say anything? Number 4, if you saw a stranger in your neighbour's garden, would you call the police? And 5, if a friend asked you to lie for them, would you do it? Okay, now that you've put in the correct answer or have the correct answer to fill the gap, can you look at the questions 1 to 5 and answer them so that they are true for you? Remember, we're talking about a dilemma, an imaginary situation now or in future, but that the past tense shows that we think it's improbable. Okay? Let's look at task 3. Complete these sentence stems so that they are true for you. Number 1, if I had more time, I'd. Number 2, if I didn't have to work, I'd. Number 3, if I were the boss of my company for a day, I'd. Number 4, if I could invite someone famous to dinner, I'd choose. Number 5, if I could go back in time, I'd. And number 6, if I could change one thing about myself, I'd be more. Have you done those? That's great. Okay, let's see about task 4. Okay, I'll just explain what I want you to do and then I'll take myself away from the slide. So task 4, I thought it would be useful if you had chance to look at when to use the first conditional and when to use the second conditional, because both talk about a dilemma, an interesting problem now or a condition now, but we choose the first conditional if we think it's something probable, and we choose the second conditional if we think it's something improbable or imaginary or unreal. Okay, that's what it says. The first or second conditional isn't a question of time because both of them refer to the present or the future. They are used to show how probable or improbable the speaker thinks the situation is. So choose the correct verb forms in sentences 1 to 5. Here we go. If I won the lottery, I'd share the money with you. Number 2, if I stop smoking, I'd feel healthier. Number 3, I'll let you know if I get or if I got the job. Number 4, I'd miss my best friend if she moves or moved away. And number 5, it would be a pity if she drops out or dropped out of university after all this time. Remember, drop out means it's to leave university, but without finishing the course. Have you had time to do those? Should we look at the answers together? Okay, just let me get the right slide up. Here we are, task 4, answers. If I won the lottery, I'd share the money with you. Yep, the past simple of win here shows that I think it's very improbable. If I stop smoking, I'll feel healthier. Here we use the first conditional because it's very probable. Number 3, I'll let you know if I get the job. Again, it's a first conditional, very probable. Number 4, I'd miss my best friend if she moved away. Here, the moved shows I think it's very improbable. And 5, it would be a pity if she dropped out of university after all this time. I think it's improbable that this will happen, but it would be a pity if she dropped out of university. Task 5. I wonder if I can appear in this slide. Let's have a look. Yeah, for a little bit. Here, I want you to choose the most logical verb form. So is it going to be the first conditional if you think it's very probable, or the second conditional if you think it's improbable? And I'd like you to finish the sentence so it's true for you. Shall I do an example for you? Number 1, here we've got the scenario, the situation, if I live to be over 100 years old, or if I lived to be over 100 years old. Now, my parents and my grandparents, my parents are still here. My grandparents died when they were 85, so I don't think that I'll live to 100, maybe 95 if I'm lucky. So I think for me, living to 100 is very improbable. So I'm going to show you that with the second conditional. Listen, if I lived to be over 100 years old, if I lived to be over 100 years old, I'd tell my great-grandchildren how we lived before mobile phones, for example. Okay, it's your turn. Choose the correct verb stem. So if I live or if I lived, if my English is or was better right now, and finish it so it's true for you. Good luck. Okay, I'm going to give you the sentence stems to task 5 that I think are correct, and I'll tell you why. But obviously, I'm not there to know how you answered them, unfortunately. But at least if you get the first part of the sentence right, you should be able to finish the second part. Here we go. So, if I lived to be over 100 years old, if my English was better right now. Okay, so I'm imagining a student, a B1 intermediate student. Yeah, it's difficult to make your English better immediately, so it's quite an improbable situation. So we use the past simple. If my English was better right now, I'd change job, or I wouldn't have classes with Lisa, for example. But if my English is better next year, for example, if you keep studying, you stay studying with Perfectly Spoken, you study English every day, your English will improve. Yes, it's a natural result. So if my English is better next year, I'll change job. I'll be very happy. Number 4, if everybody gave 10% of their salary to charity, I think it's very improbable that this will happen. So I put the verb gave. If everybody gave 10% of their salary to charity, the world would be a better place. Number 5, if the government banned cars from city centres next year, certainly here in the UK, that is very improbable. So that's what the past simple shows. If the government banned cars from city centres next year, there would be less air pollution for sure. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. That concludes my lesson on the second conditional. Please go back maybe also to lesson 17 and look at the first conditional. I think that these two are useful to see as a follow-on, the first conditional and then the second conditional, and you can compare them and get the difference in your head about them being about probability, not time, is very useful. Okay, thank you for joining me today. Whatever you're doing, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.